Start with just an overview of this wonderful work that you published in 2015, The Complete Muhammad Ali. It's a story about Ali that takes a very different arc, I think, than most of the things that I've read or seen about him. It is a very deliberate arc. Let's start with you talking about why you wanted to tell this story and why you chose to tell it this way.
Well, Stephen, I think that in this country, the Black story is told by others. And so Black opinion and the Black narrative is under a sort of like cultural occupation. And so I had to go to Montreal to get this book published. And it was supposed to be published in the United States, but that's another story. I thought that what I call the Ali scribes, I think mostly privileged white men who control the story about Ali, had left out important information. For example, the great influence that the Nation of Islam played upon his thinking. So, for example, I think that what Muhammad Ali did was to follow the teachings of Elijah Muhammad and sort of like I don't want to use the term like parroted or like sort of like repeated the pronouncements of Elijah Muhammad. This part of his story is left out, and I think that the Nation of Islam is dismissed by what I call the Ali scribes, the people who have a monopoly over that his story, because they considered the Nation of Islam to be hate mongers.
And let's talk about that relationship. I think when you talk about Elijah Muhammad, you talk about the Nation of Islam. In popular American culture, the name that comes most to mind, of course, is Malcolm X, who is the most recognizable figure, I think, in the Nation of Islam. And I think people know a little more about the relationship he had with Elijah Muhammad than the one that Ali had. But catch us up on what that relationship was like, what it meant to Muhammad Ali, both in positive terms and sometimes in negative ones.
Well, Marvin X, who's a Black nationalist who actually knew both Ali and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, talks about an incident where he went to Chicago to interview Muhammad Ali. And after conferring with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Ali canceled the interview. So I think that what shows the influence that Elijah Muhammad had over Ali happened when he broke with Malcolm X. Malcolm X became an international figure and sort of like a television star. And a friend of mine, one of the people I interviewed named Joe Walker, he and I ran a newspaper in Buffalo, New York, said that when he worked for Muhammad Speaks, Malcolm X hired him. The people in Chicago felt that he was favoring Malcolm X over Elijah Muhammad. So Muhammad Ali was caught in that feud, and what he did, he chose to follow Elijah Muhammad. As a matter of fact, he mocked Malcolm X when they encountered each other in Africa.
And so relate that relationship, I guess, with Elijah Muhammad and with the Nation of Islam to the activism that we know defines so much of Ali's career. Of course, it's his personality and his strong independence and almost defiance that drives much of that. But his allegiance to the Nation of Islam also helps frame some of that activism.
Well, not participating in the war was policy. He was not the only follower of the Nation of Islam who took that position. As a matter of fact, Abdul Rahman, whom I interviewed, was the one who told him to tell the press, no Vietnamese ever called me the N-word.
I want to talk about the voices that you incorporate in this book, which are different from a lot of the voices that we've heard before talk about Muhammad Ali. Talk about the process of gathering those voices and how it helps you render the story in a really different way.
So I began the book in 2003 and I think it was published in 2015 or something like that. So it was a long process, but I was able to interview people who are left out, voices that are left out. You know, I got in a lot of trouble for writing a play called The Haunting of Lin-Manuel Miranda. That's what we do. We point to parts of history that are left out of American history. Look at Tulsa, what happened there, where we uncovered, an atrocity or genocide that occurred in 1921. So we do the left out stuff, and that led me to interviewing people whose voices were not heard. For example, I went to a Black nationalist book fair that was organized by Marvin X in San Francisco. Interviewed Amiri Baraka and a number of other people whose stories about Ali are not told.